The next session, we're actually going to split into two. It's concerning the traditional production of mouth-blown sheet glass today. And for the first 20 minutes, we're going to have Simon Ballagh from Saint-Just. So, just... Okay. And not to really speak into that.
Okay.
Would you like to hold it?
No, it's okay. Perfect. So, hi everyone. And I'm glad to present to all of you the last French existing mouse-blown glass company for architectural glass. So to understand mouse-blown glass, and it will complete the previous presentation, I invite you all to come in my helicopter and have a look at the 9 centuries of flat glass process production. So the first elements we found about window glass and mouse-blown glass is the 11th century. And we can see that it is the only process that was used for 500 years to make windows. Up to the appearance of the rolled pattern glass, and sorry for this. So the particularity of mouse-blown glass is that we blow either crown glass out a cylinder, and the hot glass has absolutely no contact with the surface. And as it's a 100% handcraft process, there is lots of imperfections. The surface is not completely even. The fusion has bubbles, and this is really the characteristic of mouse-blown glass. So appeared afterwards in the late 17th century the rolled pattern glass, which was a great innovation. And this allowed to produce higher sheets, but the main difference between mouse-blown and rolled pattern glass is that you pour a hot glass on the surface. So I don't know if you can see here. There was a video.
Go back.
Just click on it. Okay. So you have here the image of how we pour glass on a table. And you can see clearly that we have a very hot melted glass which is put on the surface. And what happens when you do this is that you lose part of the transparency of the glass, besides mouse-blown glass where you have no contact of glass on the surface. So that's why we call this glass polish plates, because to bring back complete transparency, you have to polish the plate you have produced. So in fact, if I come back to the original history, we have two concepts, which is window glass, you don't have a contact on the surface, and one concept, which is polished plates, where you put the glass on the surface. And window glass and mouse-blown glass stayed up to the 1850s, the classic way of producing window glass, because the cost of rolled pattern glass was quite high. And that's why beginning of the 19th century, we start speaking about polished plates for window glass. So afterwards, we see in the last 100 years, with the industrialization and mechanization of the process, there was lots of process evolutions with the appearance of the pattern glass, which we see in all stained glass churches' windows with patterns. The process of Coulet-Boudin, Bichroux, the chance process, where we started to have a continuous process of flat glass. And the evolution between passing from vertical to horizontal. Vertical was the Foucault process, and you still have this image of the glass doesn't touch the surface, and we managed to produce continuous glass without polishing it, up to the invention by the English of the Pilkington process, where, because tin and glass is not miscible, you manage to float the glass on a tin bath without damaging the surface. And it's so perfect that you lose all the imperfections. So now that we have seen the full process, let's settle and come back to Saint-Just, a 200-year company, which is part of Saint-Gobain Group, which is a worldwide major construction industry specialized group, and who was born 350 years ago to produce glass in France.
Véritable point d'orgue de la créativité du groupe Saint-Gobain, la verrerie de Saint-Just incarne l'excellence du patrimoine verrier français.
It's a 100% handmade craft production, and the first step is to gather the right amount of quantity of glass on the blowpipe. So to gather the right amount, the glass blowers goes 4 times in the furnace to take 4 layers of glass, because you cannot take the full amount in 1 layer. And between each layer is going to prepare a perfect, round, homogeneous ball. So it's a job which means a lot of concentration, being very precise. And at the same time, it's very strengthful, because we're speaking about 7 kilos of glass, 3 kilos of blowpipe. So it's something which is very physical to do. So then he prepares his ball, which will be the first, I would say, step before the cylinder, and then he's going to blow in the pit, the full cylinder of glass. So I leave you appreciate the quality of the images, and you can really see how it's handcrafted. Once he has finished to blow the cylinder, he's going to separate the cylinder from the blowpipe, and then we're going to reheat the glass to flatten it. And the fact that the glass is plastic and no longer liquid, you will have you will not lose the transparency of the surface.
Véritable trésor caché de la verrerie de Saint-Just, le résultat d'une histoire esthétique.
So of course it's a teasing video, so for a purpose I didn't show a lot of images, because you're kindly invited to Saint-Just to discover the full process and see it in real. What is really important to, well, before this, just a few images, but the first step, which is the right amount of quantity of glass on the blowpipe. The second step, which is blowing the cylinder. The third step, which is separating the cylinder from the blowpipe and cutting the cylinder in the length. And the last step, which is opening the cylinder in the furnace. Okay. So what is important to highlight is that mouse-blown glass is really a rare and high quality product. And it's really precious, because you only have 2 remaining companies in the world who still handle this know-how, which is Lamberts and Saint-Just. And in terms of figures, we're speaking about at least 10 different know-hows that we need to stand up to produce 1 square meter of glass. We need 2 years of training of a glass blower for him to manage to produce a full day production. He needs at least 10 years to handle and manage the full range of products, because we have more than 300 types of glass that we produce every day. And I guess there's around 20 glass blowers remaining in the world. So more than 900 years of history, and maybe 2 companies and 80 persons who hold this history. And I guess it's our common mission to educate, promote, market mouse-blown glass and the value of mouse-blown glass, and convince that it's the glass which will subjugate the global design of the window. So the third part of the presentation illustrates the introduction of Marianne, which was which was the challenge of how can we keep the aesthetic and the heritage value of heritage windows and combine with technical and environmental performances. So it's a story which started in France 20 years ago, because I guess you remember in 1999 there was a big storm in France, which had consequent damages, and one of the damages was a lot of windows of the Château de Versailles were broken. And the nominated architect from the Château de Versailles, so I guess you can imagine he was a big architect, called Saint-Just and Saint-Gobain and said, listen, we have to do those windows again, but I have 3 requirements. First one, Versailles is Versailles, and I do not consider anything but just put mouse-blown glass. And then you are Saint-Gobain, you produced the glass 200 years ago. I ask you to make innovation, and I would like the glass to be safety glass because I don't want it to break it in the future if there's other storms. And I want to improve the thermal isolation of the global castle. So that's when we started to work on heritage processed products, and where we proposed to the architect a laminated product with a thermal coating, which allowed to improve the UV value and to avoid breakage. And since then, so more than 20 years of research development, today we propose practically 100% of the product range, well, I would say modern product range that you can find everywhere, but with a heritage glass in front. So to do this, the first, I would say, element to consider is the aesthetic. And of course, as we've seen before, we have to choose what type of glass we want to put. And if we want to stick to the original glass, which we can consider up to the early 90s, it's mouse-blown glass, which will be the most representative or the exact replicate, because you will find a handcrafted product with bubbles, with seeds, with cords, and that we can custom whatever the original glass is. If it must be very calm, we can do it very calm. If we need bubbles, or if we want it to be primary glass of the 7th or 16th centuries, we can add bubbles. So this will be the way to have the exact replication. We have other situations where the technical requirements demands to have another type of heritage glass. So for example, if we need more larger panels, the improved cylinder glass process that you showed, which lost, I think, 15 years, doesn't exist anymore. We use drawn glass, which is still a heritage glass because it corresponds to a process which has existed for 50 years. And this glass allows to respond to more high technical requirements, bigger sheets, or high security norms, or fire resistance, or bulletproof resistance. So this slide shows, in fact, how for, I would say, common restorations or replications of old windows, how we can pass from a simple glass sheet of 3 millimeters, which will have a UG of 5.7, to a laminated version, which will have a UG of 3.7, up to a double glazed version, extra thin with krypton, which can reach 1.9 in a 10 millimeter glass sheet. So it's quite encouraging to see that we can improve by 200% the UG value, still keeping the really original aspect of the glass and the window. For new windows, where we have more space in terms of wood or where we can put more larger panels, we can see that we have today great possibilities to propose heritage window designs to historical buildings, which require complex technical requirements. If I take the example of the first presentation of Adam, I think, you showed a nice building which was on the street with lovely plastic windows. I guess this illustrates perfectly that we could have imagined historical timber wood windows with a heritage glass, with an acoustic, I would say, layer, which would allow to avoid to have the noise from the street coming into the building, with security glass to avoid that people or children injure themselves. And this today is possible. We just have to push it. And the image that Adam could have showed would have been a heritage building used for any people with the heritage aspect and replying to all the today's standard norms and requirements. And you can see that the possibilities are even larger because we can propose solar control glass for south-oriented heritage windows or orangeries. We can propose curved glass, which is laminated and double glazed. We can propose bounded bars, which allows to do big windows with technical performance combined to thin wooden frameworks, if we want to keep the design of the thin wooden frameworks. We can do private light, which means it's a glass where if you turn on the electricity, you are transparent, and if you turn it off, you are opalescent. So you can imagine on windows in apartments which give on the street and it's bathrooms or toilets, you can imagine that you have the window which is normal, and when you need intimacy, you light it on. We can do bulletproof glasses for ambassades, police stations, which are generally made in heritage buildings and keep the heritage aspect, but with technical products. We can do fire-rated, and we even have developed and doing a project today of heating glass for comfort for private heritage houses and high standard products, where you have a double glazed unit and the layer inside heats up to cut the last cold wedge. So I've nearly finished. So with all these available products and this product range, we understand that designing a window and specifying the according glass is a combination of three elements. First element will be the history of the building, the functionality, the original designs of the window, what we want to do with them. The second element will be what are the technical requirements? Do we need to go high in terms of technical requirements, or do we more stand for a replication of an old window? And the third element is planning and budget. You imagine that cutting a simple sheet of glass is not the same time that producing a double glazed unit with a heating element, etc. So to support you in the process, we have set up a knowledgeable team, which is a partnership between Saint-Gobain, which is the mouth-blown glass producer, and technicians and developers of new products, which with product conformity, and Tatra Glass, which is here, which is an English company which is specialized in specifying, processing, and distributing heritage glass solutions. So as a conclusion, I would say in England, as in France and in Europe, you have an incredible architectural patrimonial. And in the last 20 years, we have developed the technical solutions to respond to today's environmental and normative challenges. So I guess it's our common mission to specify, promote, market mouse-blown and heritage glass to preserve the spirit of the English historical windows. Thank you very much for your attention.